It's July 2022, and I have a very expensive therapist. It's called Vondel Park. You see, every time I have a problem, I go for a walk. The bigger the problem, the higher my step count. These days, my Apple Watch knows that I'm having a crisis well before I do. So on that hot summer day in July, I found myself walking laps in Vondel Park because I had a problem. I had recently left corporate and I had been freelancing for about a year. I loved the freedom and the flexibility of freelancing. I'm seeing some nodding heads. But I missed having a team. I missed being able to call someone after a bizarre client meeting and being like, what the fuck just happened? So somewhere around lap 3 in Vondel Park that day, I realized that what I was really, really missing was being able to build something bigger than what I could build on my own. I wanted to work in a place that had the freedom and the flexibility of freelancing and the motivation of working with a team on a mission. So I decided to start a company that would work with millionaires to help them donate their money towards fighting the climate crisis, which, believe it or not, is an actual job. So I made 2 very bold moves. First, I registered the business at the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, and then I dyed my hair blonde, in that particular order. One of those decisions ended up being a complete disaster, and you'll find out at the end of the story which one it was. So fast forward a few months, and clients are coming in, amazing people have joined the team, and we're working on some pretty incredible projects. Everything was working out. I guess you could say life as a blonde was treating me pretty well. Fast forward again a few months, and now it's November 2022. The leaves in Vondel Park are orangey yellow. Everybody's walking around arm in arm with steamy coffees in their hands. And I'm sitting in my favorite fall sweater behind my computer answering emails. It's 7 p.m. on a Friday night. I take a look at my to-do list, and without even thinking, I say to my team, you guys have a great weekend. I'll take care of these for us. And they push back. They're like, Kat, come on, that's completely unnecessary. We can do those things next week. But I insist. I'm like, no, I got this. You guys have a great weekend. And then I catch the look on their faces. It's almost like shock. We were talking about overworking in the break. They were shocked. And suddenly I notice all of the things that I do. Replying to emails while on holiday, rewriting presentations that were already good enough, working late into the evenings and on the weekends. And it's because while I was making all of those choices, somewhere in the back of my mind, my own voice was saying to me, Kat, once you hit that revenue target, once you have this many people on the team, once you have this many clients coming in, then you can slow down, because then you'll finally be safe. So imagine my surprise when just a few months later, we had hit that revenue target, the team had tripled, and we had more clients coming in than we had even anticipated, okay? Everything that I had convinced myself I needed to finally slow down and finally feel safe had arrived. And I felt more miserable than ever. And I was working around the clock. So this time, my own voice piped up again with another great idea, saying, Kat, now what you need is stronger leaders. You need people on the team who you can trust to hand over your work to. Then you can slow down, because then you'll finally be safe. And honestly, there was some truth to it. I had become a bottleneck, and the business did need stronger leaders. And luckily, I knew just the woman for the job. Let's call her Rita. I started recruiting Rita for months. Coffee after coffee, conversation after conversation. I knew she would be incredible. And eventually, to my delight, she joined the team. And after just a few short weeks working with us, she was already leading on our biggest client engagement. And unsurprisingly, she was crushing it. She was absolutely nailing it. The client loved her, the team loved her. And after this one particular project, the client told me, next time, we would love to have Rita lead this project. And I remember smiling because I was like, this is exactly what I had been trying to build. But instead of feeling elated and popping bottles of champagne and feeling so proud, I felt more anxious and unsafe than ever. How strange is that? I remember walking home through Vondel Park and stopping by my favorite tree, which Alp and I have been laughing about, and putting my hand on the tree and thinking, what the hell is wrong with you, Kat? Isn't this exactly what you wanted? And as the thoughts and emotions were spiraling, I was thinking, why can't I just be happy? When will I finally feel safe? What do I need to fix now? And as I was spiraling, my own voice hit me like a train, this time saying, Kat, if you're not the one leading, eventually the business won't need you at all, and you'll never be safe. The problem wasn't between me and my business. The business didn't need fixing at all. The problem was within me. It was the difference between what I wanted and what I believed. I wanted to build a company that didn't depend on me, but I still believed my value depended on being needed. And I was asking my company to give me something it never could, which was a feeling of safety. So I had this realization in Vondel Park, hand on the tree, and suddenly leadership looked and felt completely different for me as a new belief emerged. This time, instead of whispering, more like shouting, telling me, Kat, your job isn't to be the one that everyone needs. Your job is to create an environment where everyone can thrive. And P.S., you are always safe, no matter what. So the next morning, I opened my laptop and a teammate had asked me saying, hey, can you review my presentation? And I said, no, I trust you. A client emailed asking if I would be at a meeting later that day, and I said, no, I won't be there. You're in great hands with the team. And that Friday, I logged off at 1 p.m., saying to my team, my work for the week is done. Have a great weekend. It's been 4 years since that first summer when I went blonde, which turned out to be an absolute disaster, by the way. And since then, I've noticed a pattern. Every time the company got stuck, it wasn't because the business had reached its limit, it's because one of my beliefs had. And these days, when things aren't quite working out, I don't immediately add another meeting or try to redesign the org chart. Instead, I lace up my sneakers, I head to Vondel Park, and I ask myself one question. What's the belief that's standing between me and the future that I'm trying to build? Because maybe becoming a leader isn't about having all of the answers. Maybe it's about having the courage to look in the mirror and question the beliefs that you've mistaken as truths. And finally, to let the business you're building build you.